Long before today's fancy coffee drinks and global fusion menus, there were fast food legends that came, conquered hungry hearts, and then disappeared without a trace. These 7 vanished favorites weren't just meals, they were snapshots of America's changing tastes, secret recipes, bold experiments, and passing culinary fads. Tonight, we're stepping back into the drive-through time machine to rediscover what made these once beloved items so special, and why the world never tasted them again. Number 1. McDonald's Onion Nuggets. Originally conceptualized during a period of intense menu experimentation at McDonald's headquarters, Onion Nuggets emerged in the mid-1970s when the company sought to expand beyond its core lineup of burgers and fries. Drawing from a history of American comfort foods dating back to the 20th century, including the rise of roadside diners and the golden age of drive-ins that peaked in earlier decades, these bite-sized chunks of battered onion resonated briefly with consumers intrigued by new finger foods. McDonald's took cues from the nostalgia felt by baby boomers who remembered simpler times in fast food's earliest days. Early television commercials, often aired during primetime variety shows and family-friendly sitcom blocks, portrayed onion nuggets as a crunchy, savory snack designed to complement the chain's expanding beverage options. Unlike the more traditional onion rings, served at various local drive-ins since the 1950s, McDonald's Onion Nuggets aimed to stand out by featuring a shape and texture perceived as more uniform, reflecting the chain's obsession with consistency and speed. Consumer response during the product's initial run was mixed. Younger Gen X customers found the concept lacking the fun novelty they craved, especially compared to the emerging era of fast food menu creativity that would define the late 1970s and early 1980s. Some baby boomers, who associated onion-flavored fried treats with regional roadside stands from their youth in the 1940s and 1950s, appreciated the item's nod to nostalgic flavors. But overall, sales failed to soar. At a time when McDonald's was beginning to consider global expansion, streamlined kitchen operations, and the minimization of menu complexity, Onion Nuggets became an oddity that conflicted with the company's commitment to products that delivered widespread appeal. While the Golden Arches tried to push these as a perfect companion to their burgers and shakes, the public gravitated toward newer snack concepts that featured chicken or improved potato offerings. Onion Nuggets lacked the universal draw necessary to claim long-term real estate on the menu board. Changing consumer tastes in the late 20th century further sealed their fate. By the mid to late 1980s, more Americans demanded variety and quality alongside their nostalgia. Health-conscious customers, responding to national discussions about nutrition and processed foods, shied away from anything that didn't deliver perceived value or an elevated flavor profile. Archival menu sheets, product tests reported in industry trade magazines, and interviews with former McDonald's marketing staff suggest that the company's limited promotional budget allocated to Onion Nuggets signaled their low priority. When McNuggets launched, the chicken variant offered a more versatile and widely beloved option, indirectly erasing the need for a deep-fried onion item that never garnered fervent loyalty. By the time modern fast food enthusiasts recall these relics, Onion Nuggets exist only as fragments of memory and occasional references in online culinary forums, completely removed from the chain's present lineup. No reintroduction campaigns, limited-time nostalgia events, or attempts at revival have managed to bring them back. They're gone, an emblem of a short-lived 1970s experiment lost in a sea of more iconic and lasting menu innovations. Number 2. Burger King's Jumbo Hot Ham and Cheese Sandwich. The Jumbo, introduced by Burger King in the late 1960s and solidified in the early 1970s, represented a fast food attempt to capitalize on deli-style sandwiches that had been popular in certain American neighborhoods since the pre-war decades. As America evolved through the 1930s and 1940s, with diners and mom-and-pop shops offering hot sandwiches as a quick comfort meal, fast food chains by the 1970s began seeing a market for something beyond beef patties. The Jumbo featured slices of ham and a layer of melted cheese served on a hamburger bun, intended as a simpler, comforting alternative for guests looking for variety. During its heyday, America's cultural landscape was shifting. Baby boomers who had grown up with simple fare in the 1950s and witnessed the explosive growth of drive-through culture were now adults with shifting dietary preferences and families of their own. The Jumbo slid into the menu as a nod to that earlier era, when hot ham and cheese sandwiches popped up at roadside joints or at home kitchens, experimenting with processed cheese slices. The sandwich managed to gain a modest following among patrons who appreciated something warm and protein-rich that deviated from the standard burger template. However, by the late 1970s, the national palate began leaning towards more distinct flavor profiles. Chain restaurants started rolling out specialty burgers, innovative sauces, and bold seasoning blends. The Jumbo, characterized by its simplicity, lacked the enticing flavors that younger Gen X consumers demanded. Increased competition from emerging chains and specialty sandwich shops, along with shifts in consumer interest towards unique offerings like chicken-based sandwiches or spicier menu items, made the Jumbo seem outdated. Internal company documents from that era, referenced in food industry histories and trade publications, show that Burger King's marketing team struggled to find a long-term brand identity for the Jumbo. It had neither the nostalgic pull of iconic burgers nor the intriguing newness of other emerging innovations. Attempts to reposition the Jumbo as a comfort item reminiscent of old-fashioned lunches could not overcome the brand's push to modernize. As the chain expanded internationally and tinkered with different breakfast and specialty items, the Jumbo's place on the menu became precarious. Eventually, the item vanished, leaving behind faint memories among those who once enjoyed it. The Jumbo's disappearance symbolized the decline of a simpler, less adventurous era in fast food. Decades later, Burger King made brief attempts to revive the Jumbo as a limited-time promotion, banking on nostalgic marketing. But these efforts failed to generate permanent interest. Modern customers, inundated with variety, global flavors, and artisanal inspirations, found little reason to clamor for its return. Thus, the Jumbo remains a ghost of Burger King's past, a rare footnote in the ever-expanding history of American drive-through fare. Number 3. Taco Bell's Bell Beefer. The Bell Beefer arrived at a time when Taco Bell aimed to broaden its menu beyond its signature tacos, burritos, and enchiladas. Introduced in the 1970s, it essentially resembled a sloppy Joe with seasoned ground beef, lettuce, and mild sauce served on a hamburger bun. This unconventional format attempted to bridge the gap between customers loyal to classic American sandwiches and those intrigued by Taco Bell's growing influence on quick Mexican-inspired fare. By blending hamburger bun familiarity with the chain's signature seasoned beef, the Bell Beefer tried to attract diners who hadn't fully embraced tacos or tortillas. In a cultural context, the Bell Beefer emerged when America's fascination with cross-cultural cuisine was relatively limited compared to the fusion-heavy culinary landscape of today. The 1970s and early 1980s were transitional decades where baby boomers, who remembered the post-war rise of hamburger stands, confronted a new generation eager to sample global flavors. Taco Bell, still building its identity, saw the Bell Beefer as a way to ease skeptical customers into the brand's flavor profile. Some regional marketing campaigns highlighted this item as a hearty, familiar option for those hesitant to jump straight into spicier or more unconventional offerings. Family photo albums, old commercial recordings, and retro magazine ads depict a time when the Bell Beefer was presented as a comfort food with a twist. Despite a brief period of modest popularity, the Bell Beefer struggled to maintain relevance as the 1980s rolled on. America's palate began expanding, with families discovering new ingredients, imported spices, and a broader array of dining options influenced by decades of immigration and cultural exchange. Taco Bell itself soon leaned into tacos, burritos, and nachos as its core identity. The Bell Beefer, tethered to the older concept of a ground beef on bun sandwich, couldn't adapt to the changing zeitgeist. Health and nutrition conversations picked up speed, pushing fast food chains to offer lighter or more imaginative items. The Bell Beefer, seen as redundant and less distinctive, faded quietly. No major outcry followed its disappearance, suggesting that consumers had already moved on to other menu items. Over time, the Bell Beefer turned into a point of nostalgic trivia rather than a beloved missing staple. Online forums occasionally buzz with Gen Xers sharing fuzzy memories of its texture and flavor, but no large-scale revival has materialized. In an era where Taco Bell confidently serves Doritos-inspired taco shells and plant-based options, reintroducing a retro ground beef sandwich would seem off-brand. Thus, the Bell Beefer remains a historical curiosity, a window into the brand's efforts to find footing in a changing fast food ecosystem. Number 4. McDonald's Arch Deluxe. Launched with considerable fanfare in the mid-1990s, the Arch Deluxe positioned itself as McDonald's attempt to capture a more sophisticated adult market. After decades catering to families and kids, influenced by marketing tie-ins and playgrounds, the chain wanted to appeal to grown-up tastes shaped by the cultural shifts of the late 20th century. The Arch Deluxe featured a quarter-pound beef patty, a peppered bacon slice, crisp lettuce, tomato, American cheese, onions, ketchup, and a distinctive Dijon mustard mayo sauce on a potato flour sesame seed bun. The concept emerged at a time when Americans began exploring casual dining and gourmet burger joints, influenced by a broader culinary awakening that stretched back to increasing food diversity in the 1980s and early 1990s. McDonald's poured millions into advertising that depicted the Arch Deluxe as refined and premium, often showing adults enjoying the burger in sophisticated settings. This marketing push reflected the chain's understanding that baby boomers, now middle-aged and Gen Xers, sought more nuanced flavors. Yet, despite extensive market research, the Arch Deluxe never resonated fully. Americans, used to McDonald's as a convenient source of basic burgers and fries, struggled to justify paying a premium price for an item that still originated from the same kitchens that produced value menu staples. The mass production and uniformity that made McDonald's famous clashed with the burger's intended image of elevated taste. Internal corporate documents and interviews with former McDonald's executives, referenced in various business journals, underscore that the product's development was both ambitious and fraught with assumptions about consumer willingness to embrace upscale fast food. The fast food landscape of the 1990s was rapidly evolving. Competitors introduced healthier options, salads gained traction, and the coffeehouse culture, fueled by the Starbucks boom, taught customers to expect more authentic and artisanal ingredients. The Arch Deluxe, for all its carefully engineered flavors, still tasted like fast food, failing to bridge the gap between the traditional McDonald's customer and the upscale diner it sought to attract. Eventually, sales slumped. Franchisees grew frustrated as the Arch Deluxe demanded extra training, new sauces, and slightly more complex assembly times. By the end of its run, the burger had become emblematic of McDonald's overreach, a cautionary tale about trying too hard to reinvent the wheel. When the chain quietly pulled it from menus, few grieved its loss. Over the years, the Arch Deluxe became a punchline and a marketing case study, illustrating that brand identity and customer expectations are often immovable anchors. Modern burger enthusiasts, drawn to gourmet burger bars or local artisanal joints, rarely invoke the Arch Deluxe except as an example of misaligned strategy. It's vanished, a relic of corporate ambition that couldn't find a permanent spot on America's fast food stage. Number 5. Pizza Hut's Priazzo. Introduced in the mid-1880s, the Priazzo was Pizza Hut's bold attempt to redefine mass-market pizza as a more substantial, pie-like dish. Conceived as a layered, almost casserole-style pizza with multiple crust layers, rich tomato sauces, and generous fillings, The Priazzo aimed to capture the fancy of customers who had grown tired of the chain's standard thin or pan offerings. This period in American dining saw increasing curiosity about regional and international cuisines. Baby boomers, who grew up on simpler pizza forms in the 1950s and 1960s, now encountered a more globalized food world, influenced by expansions in imported ingredients, cooking shows, and culinary magazines. Pizza Hut's developers likely believed that consumers, newly exposed to authentic Italian dishes and ready to experiment, would embrace a heartier pizzeria-style product. Named with an Italian flair, the Priazzo was initially marketed as a more authentic, filling alternative, something closer to a deep dish or stuffed pizza that signaled a step toward higher quality fare. The marketing campaigns featured images reminiscent of old-world trattorias, trying to evoke a sense of heritage and craftsmanship. Yet, the challenges soon became evident. Preparation times for the Priazzo were significantly longer than standard pizzas, slowing down kitchen operations and causing customers accustomed to quick service to wait longer. Franchise owners complained about the complexity of making these layered pies consistently. Despite initial curiosity, repeat orders lagged as diners found the Priazzo too heavy, rich, or simply less convenient than the more familiar pizzas they could get anywhere else. Cultural shifts in the late 1980s and early 1990s included rising health consciousness, with customers starting to pay attention to fat content, portion sizes, and overall nutrition. The Priazzo, dense and laden with cheese and meats, clashed with the emerging trend of lighter dining options. Meanwhile, competition surged as new pizza concepts and take-and-bake shops emerged. Pizza Hut shifted focus to pan pizzas, stuffed crust innovations, and other menu items that balanced novelty with operational simplicity. The Priazzo soon slipped out of the lineup, leaving behind customers who vaguely remembered it as an odd detour from the chain's core identity. Today, it lives on only in the realm of online nostalgia communities where people recall its heft and unique structure. Some claim it was ahead of its time. Others argue it never found the right audience. Regardless, Pizza Hut never attempted a true comeback. The Priazzo's disappearance underscores a broader lesson in the fast food industry. Complexity and authenticity claims must align with what customers genuinely seek. Without that alignment, even a product with a promising premise vanishes swiftly, becoming just another footnote in the annals of disappeared fast food items. Number 6. Wendy's Frescata Sandwiches. Launched in the mid-2000s, Wendy's Frescata sandwiches were introduced as a direct response to the growing influence of fast casual dining and the rising consumer demand for fresher, more premium ingredients in quick service environments. By this point, the American fast food landscape had grown far beyond basic burgers and fries. The public, influenced by increased exposure to international flavors and health-conscious eating trends, began seeking out bakery-style breads, lean proteins, crisp vegetables, and sauces less reliant on heavy mayonnaise or overly sweet dressings. Frescata sandwiches, featuring deli-style meats, artisan bread, and unique flavor combinations, represented Wendy's effort to tap into this evolving market. The memory of home-cooked deli sandwiches from previous decades, rooted in the 20th century's heritage of family picnics and simple lunches, provided a nostalgic undercurrent. Baby boomers remembered the authenticity and texture of non-processed breads, while younger adults, influenced by fast casual chains, craved something that signaled quality and care. Initially, customers seemed intrigued. Food reviewers praised the relatively high-quality ingredients compared to typical fast food cold cuts. Wendy's marketing materials highlighted freshness cues, showing bread being sliced and ingredients arranged in a style reminiscent of a traditional deli counter. However, challenges emerged quickly. Operational complexities made frescatas more labor-intensive. Slicing and stacking premium ingredients took longer, reducing speed of service. Franchise owners reported difficulties maintaining ingredient quality, as these items had shorter shelf lives than the chain's signature burgers and fried chicken sandwiches. The supply chain had to adapt to handle fresher bread and deli meats, increasing costs. Meanwhile, the sandwich category was crowded. Subway, Panera Bread, and numerous regional sandwich shops offered similar items, often with more customization and better brand association with freshness. Without a clear differentiator beyond premium bread, Frascata's struggled to hold a loyal customer base. By the time Frascata's vanished, health and wellness trends had evolved again. Customers demanded transparency, locally sourced produce, and nutrient-dense menu options. Frascata's, while fresher than typical fast food fare, never fully aligned with the aspirational eating patterns emerging in the late 2000s. Wendy's executives realized they hadn't carved out a distinct identity for these sandwiches. They sat awkwardly between the chain's established burger offerings and the polished fast casual experiences diners found elsewhere. In retrospect, industry analysts view the Frascata's as a well-intentioned but ultimately doomed attempt to fight on unfamiliar ground. Today, these sandwiches remain a faded memory, rarely discussed except by dedicated fans of bygone menu items who recall their brief presence as a curious experiment in an era of transition. Number 7. KFC's Colonel's Rotisserie Gold. The Colonel's Rotisserie Gold emerged in the early to mid-1990s as Kentucky Fried Chicken experimented with new cooking methods and flavor profiles. For decades, KFC symbolized Southern-style fried chicken steeped in a secret blend of herbs and spices. By the 1990s, consumer interest in alternative cooking methods and healthier preparations grew more pronounced. The era was marked by heightened nutrition awareness, increased competition from rotisserie chicken specialists like Boston Market, and the mainstreaming of Mediterranean and Latin American flavors. KFC's Rotisserie Gold offered a roasted alternative, seasoned with a proprietary blend designed to create a succulent golden brown poultry dish without the signature crisp fried coating. At the time of its introduction, Americans were exploring new mealtime options that balanced convenience with perceived wholesomeness. Rotisserie chicken, once a specialty of regional grocery stores and dedicated chicken restaurants, had gone mainstream. Middle-class families, busy with work and after-school activities, appreciated the convenience of grabbing a whole, cooked chicken for dinner. KFC, hoping to leverage its brand recognition and extensive real estate presence, sought to become a one-stop source for both traditional fried chicken lovers and customers leaning toward lighter choices. Early promotional materials emphasized the chicken's tenderness, flavorful seasoning, and the idea that you could enjoy a roasted meal without heading to a competitor. However, cultural and operational factors hampered the Rotisserie Gold's success. The product required different kitchen equipment, additional training, and careful timing to deliver the promised quality. Franchisees, accustomed to the simplicity of frying batches of chicken, faced challenges integrating rotisserie ovens and procedures. Economically, maintaining multiple product lines complicated supply chains, from marinating to cooking times. Customer perception also played a role. KFC's brand identity had long been tied to fried chicken's signature crunch. Convincing loyal patrons to try a roasted option was difficult, especially since countless grocery delis and specialized competitors already excelled at rotisserie-style offerings. As the 1990s progressed, American fast food consumers discovered even more diverse choices. Tex-Mex chains, global cuisines, and health-focused fast casual formats. The once exciting novelty of a rotisserie chicken at a fast food window dimmed. By the late 1990s, Rotisserie Gold quietly slipped off the menu. Retrospective analyses by food historians and marketing experts suggest that KFC underestimated how deeply its core identity was tied to fried chicken's texture and flavor. Without a strong brand narrative for its roasted variant, and in a marketplace where customers increasingly turned toward other chains for anything non-fried, the Rotisserie Gold simply couldn't secure a permanent foothold. In subsequent decades, KFC refocused on its classic offerings and occasionally tested other menu expansions. Nothing quite like the Rotisserie Gold returned. The product became a forgotten chapter in the brand's history, overshadowed by more successful experiments, global menu adaptations, and the eventual trend toward spicy, crispy, or otherwise innovative fried items. Gone forever, it remains a testament to the difficulties of repositioning a brand built on one iconic cooking method into a broader culinary category. Today, references to the rotisserie gold appear in nostalgic internet discussions, with some claiming it deserved a second chance, while others admit it never quite measured up to the iconic fried standard that made KFC a household name.